Alright everyone, Beto O'Rourke, better known as, his real name Robert Francis O'Rourke, he tries to pander, that's why he uses Beto when he doesn't really have to. Robert's a perfectly short, fine name to remember. I wonder why a Texas politician would possibly use the former. He's in for 2020, which is something, actually, this is a little bit of an out-of-the-blue thing, because it was starting to look like he probably wouldn't. Because, he's, 5 or 6%, he's sort of in that second tier along with Warren and Booker. He's not a top-tier sort of individual. He might pick up a little bit of steam now, but you'll remember, the thing that in recent history he's most known for is skateboarding across a stage during a rally and being a total cringemaster in so doing. It's really funny. So, some of these out-of-touch liberals are like, oh, he's like so cute stuff. What are you, fucking smoking? Well, are you on crack? Or you gotta be on crack if you're actually thinking that. No, immediately I took another look at him, sort of an up-close photo. He reminds me of Gary Dell'Abate, actually. If you're not sure of who that is, that's the producer for the Howard Stern Show, has been since the mid-'80s. He looks surprisingly similar other than skin tone and hairstyle. Otherwise, he looks basically the same to me as maybe Gary Dell'Abate 10 years ago when he was just salt and pepper hair instead of just a bunch of fucking salt. That's basically what he looks like, and he would probably govern the same way. He's a loser. He's a problem. Beto O'Rourke has accomplished fucking nothing. It's like, oh yeah, well, he runs against Ted Cruz and so he loses. He managed to lose against Ted Cruz. Now, you have to understand the backdrop when he lost. The liberal media was like, oh, well, he came so close in a state as red as Texas. Wow, he's really a powerful candidate. No, he is a very weak candidate. He is a cringe master who had some youth appeal, and that's basically all. Everyone else wanted Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz, meanwhile, you've got to understand who he is. He himself is very cringy. Remember the butter cow thing? Oh, wow, my daughter's first words were, I like butter, or some stupid shit like that. He gets beaten up by Trump, totally schlonged, as you may put it. A lot of Republicans didn't like him. He never had any significant excitement behind him other than maybe from the Evangelocons, which are a dying breed. I know maybe more powerful in Texas, but they're no longer a dynamic force within the GOP as much as the populists are. Their schism was really quick. The Democrats are the ones fucking dragging their heels. So he loses against him. This is despite the fact that he outraised and outspent Cruz several times. He had huge amounts of DNC money, and he also had a bunch of surrogates come in to campaign for him. His campaign was one of the main campaigns the Democrats were focused on. They decided, this is akin to when Pelosi says in 2020 they want to flip Texas. Big fucking mistake to waste your time. Wait until the organic demographic shift there possibly causes that to be in contention. Right now it's not, and it's not in 2020 either. I don't think it will be for the foreseeable future because the Democrats are undergoing a massive breakup of their party and they're gonna fuck themselves. Demographic shift that would normally favor them might end up hitting them in the ass. You never know what's going to happen. That's why I don't predict Texas going blue anytime soon. The DNC and Pelosi are making the same fucking mistakes, and woe unto them if Beto becomes their candidate. Now, what exact effect does this have upon the race? And keep in mind, Beto O'Rourke is also an explicitly, literally open borders Democrat. Like, if you think like Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren are out to lunch on the issue of immigration, Beto O'Rourke seriously suggested tearing down existing border defenses and decriminalizing illegal border crossings. In other words, he wants to eliminate the very legal concept of the ability of a person to breach the laws of the United States through illegal entry. We would be the only country in the world that operates in that capacity, with the exception of the technicality within the Eurozone, courtesy of the Schengen area, and some of the lax policies of some of the southern European states that simply want the migrants to go to Western Europe. So like, oh yeah, you can come in, just don't stay here. Essentially, it's a technicality due to the EU's globalistic bullshit nightmare dystopia. Here, we don't have that. We have a border. But the Democrats have steadily gone from a party that at least paid lip service to defending the border to one that pays lip service to not wanting to have one at all. Which is why I find it funny when people are like, they're angry at Trump because, oh, he hasn't built the wall. He hasn't unilaterally built the wall despite the judiciary and legislature obstructing and opposing him because he doesn't want to get thrown out of office for violating the Constitution, the separation of powers. So we're just going to vote for the Democrats because somehow this makes sense. It's a meme being foisted by Democrats. No, it's definitely Share Blue doing the Yang thing, absolutely. I've analyzed it enough now to be 100% certain of that. It was started by Share Blue and David Brock's people, or some other similar group. Absolutely. It's funny that the people backing it with cognitive dissonance won't take 10 minutes to familiarize themselves with that fact and then admit that they were fucking wrong. They'd rather gobble down the propaganda, even ironically. It's rather sad to see people, and some of these people quite bright minds, fall for the bullshit. No, Beto O'Rourke getting in. What effect does this have on the race? Number one, Beto O'Rourke hysterically would appeal more to the centrist Democrats, despite the fact that he is extremely far left. On the border, on guns, on things like that, he is an extreme leftist. Extreme, like further than Bernie Sanders, yet somehow within the modern Democratic Party, that's not considered problematic. Meanwhile, he's getting crucified by some leftists as being too far right for signing like a, what was it, some sort of bill to protect cops or something like that, and so they think that that makes him a sellout. And also, you gotta understand, he's a white male. That's a problem in today's Democratic Party. He himself even pointed this out in a recent interview. Well, yeah, I think the fact is I'm a white male. That could, hurt me, and all the and then he cucks out. He's like, well, so many positions in politics are held by white males. White males make up, yes, well, whites in general make up about 3/4 of the U.S. population. And some people say, well, it's like 55%. No, you're not understanding what whiteness is in the in the ethnic framework. You're assuming that because somebody comes from Latin America that they can't be white. I don't understand that. That's about 75%. So yeah, I would assume that a lot of people in Congress would be white and specifically male. So who fucking cares, Beto? Like, oh my god, I hate myself so much. I was born with the wrong chromosomes and the wrong melanin in my skin. Says, fuck you, Beto. Fucking sellout. Is exactly the problem with self-hate within the Democratic Party. Well, if you hate yourself so much, you shouldn't run for office. You should deprive yourself of that evil privilege and become a hermit or something like that. Why don't you go and do that, Beto? He's not going to win. He won't be the President of the United States. How do we know this? The fact is that Beto O'Rourke's attempts at youth outreach, and this is important if you're running as a Democrat especially, look awfully like Hillary Clinton's from 2 years ago. They look awful, well, 2.5 now. They look awfully similar to Hillary Clinton. Pokemon, go to the polls. Wow, I'm a cool kid. I expected her to come out with a do-rag listening to Vanilla Ice or something. Wow, see, look at how fucking cool I am. Beto O'Rourke is the same fucking shit. The fact is the Democrats are having a field day applauding him and acting like he's viable and wonderful, and he's the messiah of the Democratic Party because he's kind of young and he's a Texas Democrat who happened to be in office. That's no different than the cult of personality spawned around Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. There's no real claim to fame there. It's sort of like Paris Hilton, famous for being famous. Because the media decided that you kind of looked the part and you kind of sounded cool and something you said just sort of set them off, and maybe they got $1 million from the DNC, so they decided to heap praise on you and blow you out of proportion. Beto O'Rourke is an afterthought. He is not a significant political force. He's not even in office right now, dude. He lost. He lost against Ted Cruz. He's a fucking loser. He's a fucking moron. He's not going to amount to much. And here's the thing. People on that second tier only become viable if someone on the top tier drops out early. There's no reason, like Biden hasn't gotten in yet, but there's a 99.9% chance he does. It'll be Biden, Sanders, and Harris. They're the front runners. They are the three main candidates. The only way for any of the second-tier candidates who are technically viable, and there are 3 of them, Beto now is one of them, Elizabeth Warren, which is hilarious, and Cory Booker. Those are the second-tier candidates. Nobody else is viable at this point. Most of them don't have a political pulse. Some of them don't even have 1% of support within the Democratic Party. There is no legitimate reason for the 3 front-running candidates to face any significant hurdles to them battling out amongst themselves unless one of them makes a major mistake, dies, or inexplicably drops out due to scandal or something like that. Then there is a chance for others to rise up. The problem is, here's what would have to happen in order for Beto O'Rourke to be viable. Or Klobuchar, who's kind of straddling, she's at 3 or 4%. She's straddling the line between technically viable and not. Biden would have to not get in or drop out, and Cuomo would have to stay out regardless. That's what would have to happen because of the demographics. And if it were Sanders or Harris, all of those voters would just switch to the other. Like by Super Tuesday, Biden's worst nightmare is that either Sanders or Harris drops out after Super Tuesday, leaving him with a viable far-left opponent that might be able to scrape together enough states to actually challenge him in a contested convention. That's his fucking problem. Beto O'Rourke and Hickenlooper are sort of on the Biden-esque side, along with Gillibrand and some of the others. Maybe a Gabbard. Like, if Gabbard were to drop out tomorrow, and it's funny to see her get no traction whatsoever because she's essentially been turned into a Yang-style meme candidate. If she were to drop out, virtually all of those people would be Biden 2020. That alone, that 2 or 3% would tip it in his favor because it'd get him over 30. In some polls, he already is. He's way out ahead. Him and Sanders are the front runners. Harris, technically speaking, rounds out the top 3. Somebody like Beto O'Rourke, who gets in really late. He's got, mid-single-digit support. He only becomes viable if someone gets out of his way, or, this is the only other way those candidates can succeed, within the first debate or two, they have to score major political points and stand out significantly from the crowd. Now, do I think that he has the speaking skills and the chops necessary to do that? No. Julian Castro is more likely to pull it out of his ass. Ultimately, Tulsi Gabbard is more likely. Some of these better-spoken individuals. Maybe even a Cory Booker. I think Warren and Beto O'Rourke as second-tier candidates are virtually doomed. Yeah, I mean, Elizabeth Warren would have to sit there and wait for, like, I guess, Kamala Harris to get out. Maybe she gets the female leftist vote. Like, basically, you got a three-wheel race because you've got a three-wheel Democratic Party, don't you? The standard liberal and business Dems want Biden. The leftist on economic issues, but otherwise kind of, sort of just regular Democrats want Sanders. And then the leftists that are really far out, the social justice wedge issue warriors, that 5 to 10%, they want Kamala Harris. Because she's not only is she a socialist, they would support Bernie, but he's a white male. She's not white or male while also being far left, so they want her. Where does Beto O'Rourke fit into this? He'd have to wait for Biden to get out of the way because he's a fellow white male who pretends to be kind of a regular routine liberal with a few progressive streaks in him. The Democratic Party is so far out there, we have Julian Castro calling Bernie Sanders a sellout. Yeah, I mean, it's on economic issues, on reparations of all things. It's fucking crazy. It is a clown car election. It looks a lot like the Republicans in 2016, except you don't have a Donald Trump. You don't even have a Rand Paul. And kind of, I guess, Gabbard would kind of fulfill that, which is why she's doomed. Because, common sense and Democratic Party don't go together. The Republicans don't have that problem. Trump is going to coast to nomination. He is the nominee. I mean, who's the fuck's going to stay? Bill Weld. Oh, my God. Jeff Flake out of nowhere. It's not going to happen, dude. It's going to be Trump versus probably Joe Biden. And there's the possibility, if they're crazy enough to nominate anyone else, they don't even really have a chance now, do they? Beto O'Rourke, oh my God. Who's going to choose his running mate when he's like, what is he, like 45 or something? That'd be funny. So, yeah, if you have some old... Bernie Sanders is going to be vice president of the United States. What a wonderful fucking time that would be. It'd be funny to watch him try to moderate his message. That's about all. Peace out.